Hello, my friends. How are you? So, I'm going to be a little honest with y'all today. I was racking my brain about what I'm going to teach, how I'm going to teach it, because emotions are really not that easy to teach. Emotions, I feel like, is something we do, and we learn so much more about emotions when we do the work. So, as you have been experiencing your one on one coaching sessions with me, you see how much of the work we do inside is that emotional work where we process and flow with and experience and learn from all of our emotions. And I was thinking of how can I show this process in a class? And so I'm still going to think about that because that's what I'm going to bring to you all on Friday. But while I was racking my brain and thinking, one of my favorite topics ever popped into my own mind. So today we're going to do emotions and the Kabbalah. We are going to go onto a little intro, deep dive to Jewish mysticism. We're going to get pretty deep, pretty quick. And this is going to be a lot of fun. So, emotions and the Kabbalah. Y'all ready? So, according to the Kabbalah, there are in this world Spheroid, which are divine attributes. The definition that I've got here is from Wikipedia, I think, and the Spheroid, meaning emanations, are the 10 attributes in the Kabbalah through which the Ein Sof, the infinite God, source, whatever you want to call it, reveals itself and continuously creates both the physical realm and the chain of higher metaphysical realms. The term is alternatively translated into English as Sphirot, Spheroth, singular, Sphira, Sephira. So, although the Sphirot are said to be intangible, divine emanations, the way that God expresses him or herself, itself into the world, according to the Kabbalah, it is this expression in our physical world that we experience within ourselves, within other things that we encounter, and that basically are the building blocks of life. The Sphirot are divided into 3 types. Let me move myself. Ooh, I can be in the middle, guys. So the 3 types of Sphirot, as everything that's godly and mystical and divine happens outside of us, is bigger than us, grander than us, it also happens within us. So according to the Kabbalah, there's 3 types of Sphirot. The superconscious, which is beyond consciousness and intellect. The intellectual faculties, which are conscious intellect, the way we think, our thoughts. And the emotional faculties, which are the conscious emotions, the sometimes not so conscious, but where we're getting to is being divinely conscious of our emotions. And you'll see this in this class. And that is the way that we feel. So you'll see how this Kabbalistic concept is going to play out so much into what we have been learning thus far about things like the model. Our thoughts create our results. Our thoughts create first feelings in our body, sensations, emotions, and also divine channels of communication within our own bodies. And those channels, those combinations, those emotions, those thoughts combined create our results. Now let's learn a little bit about these faculties. Ooh, my computer's gonna die, y'all. Hold on 1 second. I was at meetings all morning. And let me plug this in because I had my computer off the thing and took it with me. 1 sec, love y'all. we're back. So let's learn a little bit more about these emotional faculties, intellectual faculties, and superconscious faculties, and bring this closer and closer to home within ourselves. So the first two that we're going to talk about is Ketter and Malhot. And these are our superconscious qualities. This is kind of, like I said here, where ideas come from and what happens to them after we give birth to them. It's kind of the stuff that we leave to the divine. So if you imagine the human being, and you'll see, I'll teach you about these later, but these are the faculties that we actually control within ourselves, right? Our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. However, there's circumstances in this world that we'll never be able to control. That's up to the divine. Things like, where does inspiration come from? Where does a thought, an insight, intuition, a flow of ideas come from? And then what happens when you take it from idea to result, to an accomplishment, to an action in your life? Where does it go from there? Who determines what your idea will impact and who it impacts and how it impacts? You know, I have a lot of ideas about this class, my program. I'm sure we all do, about business things we want to do or relationships we want to have. But let's say two people come together and make a child in a relationship. The fruition of that idea, which was first love and being together by yourself into a relationship, and then the birthing of a child, what happens to that third person? It's something that we let go into the world, and it's what God gets to keep and hold on to and continue this flow, this evolutionary process, right? It's kind of like going back to our first lesson, the ostrich, not with its head in the sand, but with its head in the clouds, always moving on and forward, a new vision, a new birth, a new cycle, a new fruition. So Keter is above us. Keter is often referred to in the Kabbalah as the crown. It's super conscious, so it's not really explainable, but it is that place where new insights, new ideas come from. And Malhut is basically the emanation after the idea is born. What happens after it's actualized, when it's completely rooted? So, like that child, Malhut is often said as being kingship, according to the Kabbalah. When the king is elected and the child has grown up and has become king, what are they going to do with their kingdom afterwards? That is the idea of Malhut. It's the next step. So the intellectual and emotional qualities, however, those are the ones that we can control. Put myself right in the middle of the presentation for now. Those are going to be inside of our human body. So if we go back to this picture here, imagine it this way as we're looking at the next slide, and I'll help as well. So the intellectual faculties, those are right brain, left brain, center, Chokhmah, Bina, Das. Chokhmah is how we think, basically the first step. It's that spark of intuition when we first get an idea and we just feel the clarity all the way through and through. We have the vision. We're like, and it was just an insight or something we read or something somebody said, and we just had all this clarity about what it would look like at the very end. If you can really imagine it this way, if you're thinking about being in a desert, lost, searching for water, and you know that water is near an oasis, but it's extraordinarily dark outside and you can't see, even though the desert is flat, any trees on the horizon. And then all of a sudden there's a lightning strike. And for a split second, the whole room lights up, or the whole desert lights up. And at the very, very end, way back behind where you have to go still, is the slimmest glimmer of a tree, a palm tree. And then as you walk, and then as the lightning goes away, you have no clue. You're like, oh man, that direction, that's where I have to go. But you have no clue whether there's more trees or an oasis, but it was that first feeling of like there's something there that's right for me, right? And it lasts usually a second or two, and we usually never have the full picture. So that's the next step. That's Bina, right brain, symbols, imagery, ideas, intuition. Left brain, oh, okay, I have to get to the oasis. I can't see anything. That means I'm going to have to put one foot in front of the other. I'm going to have to continue walking in this direction. I might have to take a rest. I might have to slow down a little bit. I might have to speed up. Maybe the sun will come up and I'll be able to see better. Bina is that part of us that starts making the list, analyzing, wondering, hey, is this right? Is this what I'm supposed to do? How do I do it? It's still an idea. It's still in our mind at that point in time, but it's the faculty by which the universe expresses itself. If you really think of consciousness, think of God creating this world with the end in mind. And then godliness having to, if it created itself with the end in mind, start breaking down what that would look like. So because God is doing that, we have that ability to break it down and do that within ourselves, according to the Kabbalah. Not only do we have the ability, that's how we naturally function. And then there is Dot. And Dot is the bringing together of these two energies. Now, you'll see throughout this class how much integration of these energies, this whole program, is all of our work. It's our most important work. And so, what DOS is when you have that spark and insight and you break it down, and in your analysis, in your breakdown, you fall in love with that idea. You become one with that idea. You start seeing yourself doing that idea. It's not anymore a list and an analytical concept for you. It now starts to become emotional. It starts to become knowledge, and you start going within you and starting to feel this idea kind of like create feelings and emotions that are going to start driving you and making you want to act, right? What made you jump in this program? It was an idea. But that emotion of, well, what can I do if I did this personal development work? What would happen if I worked with Yana for me? That you started feeling before you ever signed up for this, that excitement, that union with what would be possible for me if I started coaching, right? And so that's when your emotional body gets involved. DOS is often correlated with also the throat, because not every idea that we have becomes something that we emotionally get charged about or start processing or start invoking physiologically in our body. And the throat is um, is smaller. Sorry, according to the Kabbalah, it's almost like a funnel to the rest of your body. And the reason that your shoulders are wider is because this is like where the action starts to happen. This is where the grit of this world is. And so we have these godly ideas, these intuitive ideas. We play with them, we break them down, we get an understanding of them, we see what they mean to us, and then we start. You guys, I might be moving ahead. I think I had this, what I just explained to you in the next slide. I was just supposed to tell you that we move into the emotional qualities. So those are going to be Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. And you know what? I'll go on and keep teaching it this way and show you how they relate in your body as I explain to them to you as well. So the next, now we're going bottom right. This is fun. So the next slide that I have here for you is, well, let's read it. The word sphera is related to the word lesaper, which means to express or communicate. This implies the function of a sphera is to express a certain attribute. It is also related to the word saphir, sapphire, really. A sapphire is a gemstone that is brilliant and illuminating, implying that the function of a sapphire is to give light. Combining these two concepts, one may say that the Spheroid have two basic functions. One is lights or luminaries that serve to reveal and express, and another is a vessel that limits and defines the lights so that the specific qualities are manifest. The Spheroid may be compared to the two hands of a king. Sometimes the king operates with his right hand and sometimes with his left. Ultimately, is the king himself who is acting through the medium of the hands. So I want you to think about how we're going to use all of these faculties, bring all of this for our own personal transformation. And what the Kabbalah is teaching, really, for a whole transformation within the world. And I want you to remember these central spheroid. You'll see how this ties together, but it's going to be really fun. I want you to also think about those two supernatural sphera, right? The super conscious, the giving birth, the actual baby that you create in this world that then becomes its own entity and can live its own life and become its own king with its own kingdom. And then the source, the seed, the desire for even wanting to create a baby or a family, right? That whole process. And then as it happens through you, that's actually what the Kabbalah is telling us that God wants. That's how God expresses himself, herself, itself in the world. And so every single one of these qualities, because it's about expression and communication and illumination, is going to be something that we feel as well, not just understand. So Chokhmah, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, we went through that, but also on an internal aspect within the microcosm. Chokhmah is experienced as selflessness. It's a concept, it's something that's dropped into you. And it's like, whoa, what was that? What did I just see? And Bina, when you really can break it all down and get in tune with what you would like out of it, can be so joyous. On the other hand, it could also be very fearful, fused in the negative, right? Anxiety. And Das can be this unification, this integration of these ideas that came from a cosmic metaphysical place into us and now are channeled into our bodies. Everything's energy, right? Quantum physics. Remember those atoms? We're literally taking atoms from the cloud, the God cloud, and we're processing it through ourselves in our emotional body. We're physically doing this work. And when we move into the emotional body, we'll talk about the rest of these. But for now, Hesed, also known as kindness, quality of love, Gevurah is strength, sometimes also called as judgment, and is the quality of fear. Tiferes is beauty, it's the joining of the two. Netzach, victory. Hod, splendor. Yesod is foundation, and that's the joining of victory and splendor. And Malhot, once again, kingship. But it's felt as service. And I want you to just keep these emotional qualities in mind as we keep going on. You guys, today's class might be a little bit longer, but I really hope you're having fun because this is so cool. And if not, pause it, take a break, and come back to it tomorrow. Be like story time. I won't, how about no homework? No homework, just class. So fun. Okay, love y'all. So, the intellectual faculties, right? We just did this. The Chokhmah, the Bina, the Das. Who's ready to tell me what I taught you just a couple minutes ago? Pause your class right now. What did I say about Chokhmah, Bina, and Das? Who can do it? All right. I feel like I'm like teaching to y'all. I get to know you so well now, and it's so fun. And it's no longer like I'm sitting in front of my computer being all zoomy by myself. So, okay. Chokhmah, Bina, and Das. So those are the Chokhmah, the spark, the inspiration. Bina is like, we're going to break it down, the understanding of all aspects of it. And the Das is the attachment, the knowledge, the moving it into our bodies, becoming one with the idea. Then we have the emotional faculties. These are within the body. So let's go through the same way that we did with our minds. The right hand, chesed, kindness, the right aspect, portion of your body. It's oftentimes let's do it this way. Kindness. Then there's Gevurah, your left hand, your left side, which is strength. And it's also known as judgment or reservation, severity. Remember love and fear. Hesed, kindness, is going to be the feeling and the emotion of love. Gevura is often talked about with as fear. And so those two aspects are both necessary. All of that was and is the way, the mechanism by which God creates this physical world and continues to create and revive and give energy to this physical world. But we also, not we also, that is why we also experience these attributes, these qualities within ourselves. And when you join Hesed and Gevurah, or kindness and strength, you end up having beauty. Tiferet. It's also often considered as compassion. So I'll give you a practical example on how this plays out in the body. So I want you to imagine yourself walking down the park and you see someone sitting on the floor in front of you, and they're a beautiful person with a sign that say, please help, need money for my kids, unemployed, COVID sucks. And there's one part of you that automatically is like, oh my gosh, I want to give you money. You're so amazing. Why are you there? You're so, I wish I could help. I give you every ounce of my being. There's another part of us that's like, okay, why are you there? And I can't really give you that much. And possibly even having a lot of judgments, like, should have worked harder and you got yourself there, your fault, not mine, right? And maybe that even part of us is more severe, or saying something like, if I approach you, you might hurt me, and therefore I'm not going to give you money, right? Almost that fear. And so if you look at different people, think about different people in your life, depending which emotional quality or character or attribute trait, not only do you have, but do you exercise more often, will be also very reflective of how you think and how you act, and it'll drive you, right? So someone who's generally like always super generous will be so easy to just, yes, I love you, and here's all my money, taking care of everyone else and never taking care of themselves. That is gorgeous, but that's also hesed, kindness, in the negative. It's like letting that go way too far. And then on the left hand side, if you're too severe, or if you are only severe, like if you're only like, no, that never, I won't ever help, I'm never ever going to do anything if it doesn't serve me, always judgmental, always fearful, right? You can see the results there. So the beauty, the compassion, the Tiferet is bringing those two qualities together. So when you are in the park, what most people do is say, of course, I'll give you something, but I won't give you everything. So you walk up to the person, and most people in this world, now this is, once again, this is energy we're talking about. So it's never 100%. And I'm not saying I don't understand it, but most people in this world are right-handed. So what happens is usually reach in your purse or in your pocket and you take out your wallet. And what most people will do, or your handbag or whatever, is open their wallet. And if you just think about this, or when you go to the store to pay for something, we oftentimes take money with our right hand, and that's what we give with. And we hold on to our wallets or our purses or our belongings with our left hand. That's what we receive with, what we hold on to ourselves for with. Y'all, when I heard that analogy, I was like, that blows my mind. But it is so true. How dominant are we in this world with our right hand? This world is naturally more kind, I truly believe, and wants to be giving and loving. And according to the Kabbalah, there's generally, so that every quality has to exist for a reason. So you're probably wondering, like, oh, well, why does fear exist? Why would that, if it seems like it wouldn't serve us, if kindness is the go-to? And according to the Kabbalah, the only fear you should really have is the fear of separation from your creator, from your creation. And what that ultimately means to me is separation from your intuition, from your knowing, from your authenticity, from the source message within, right? Looking at the circumstances in the world and the things, and that will naturally scare you. But if your fear is a natural fear of, oh no, what happens if I lose myself? What would happen to me if I didn't hone into me? What would happen to me if I didn't do this work? If I didn't go deeper? If I didn't give myself everything that I could to succeed? That's really scary. I would never want to abandon myself that way. So that is the Kabbalistic fear that I've really learned is very, very appropriate. And that's that reservation, right? No, my wallet is mine, because if I give everything away, I won't be able to serve others as well. So I have to have a foundation. I have to build my bubble. And you'll see, we're going to get to foundation, to Yesod. But that's where the beauty comes from, is understanding this process within ourselves. Where do I give? Where do I take? How do I give and take? Where is that important for me? And what emotions are elicited? Where are we experiencing love and kindness and compassion? Where are we experiencing severity, strength, fear in our lives? And can we flip that fear to being afraid of not being intimate with ourselves, first and foremost? Because that's where God is. It's in our emotions. That's exactly what the Kabbalah is teaching. That's the way that God emanates and shows him or herself in this world, the process, the understanding. And we have this gift to navigate it all. And if I disconnect from myself, I'm disconnecting from that gift that I have in this world. And I don't know why God gave me this gift, or you, or all of us, but every single body who's born with this emotional body is that emanation of God. And it goes on, the Kabbalah will say it's in the trees, and it's basically the Spheroid, or the building blocks of our lives. But because everything in the universe is a micro and a macrocosm, we really see it in the human being on so many levels. Then we have the bottom Spheroid, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. So Netzach is, and now if you think about it, I'll stand up, do a little show and tell here. This is the region that the bottom Spheroid are in. And if we think about foundations, our hips, grounding energy, right? So Netzach is the right leg. It's under kindness, and Netzach means victory. And it's that foundation, if you really think about it in the positive, of I persevered, I won, I did it, I can trust myself, I conquered, there was a challenge and I beat it. In the negative, you can see how that goes, right? I'll conquer all of them. I can do this. I'm the strongest. Everyone listen to me, my way or the highway. That's going to be that right hip area. And it goes with kindness, because most people who are like, I can do this, y'all listen to me, is because they're truly doing it because they think it's the best for everyone. On the left side is Hod. Hod is often talked about as splendor. Hod is kind of the energy of reflection. It's the left side and associated with judgment and analyzation, the Bina, because Hod is like sitting back and saying, look at what I've accomplished, right? Not I can do this, I trust myself, but look at what I have done. And being grounded and aware in one's own glory and the breakdown of it. But on the other hand, Hod in the negative, that splendor, could also be impatient. And why haven't I accomplished something? And again, under that fear aspect. And what the Kabbalah is teaching us there too, is that these two together really come into our sexual organs and our foundation, really the root, right? If you think about other philosophies, Buddhist philosophies, the chakra system, the root chakras, Kundalini energy, very, very associated there. And what the Kabbalah is saying is that we need both. We need a very solid foundation of knowledge and inner knowing and splendor, and like going back in our lives in this whole program, if our foundation is set, our self-worth is set on, look at what I've accomplished, and not from like an egotistical way, but from a, wow, that's really amazing. Look at what I can do. And therefore I will keep going to solve problems, to offer solutions. That becomes the creative driving force, where if you really feel those two ways, right? Like it feels really comfortable at that point in time to give birth to new ideas, new concepts, create new things in your life. And so that is our foundation. Now, next part of this class, I hopefully will blow your mind a little bit. I want you to think of these faculties as the teachers and students. So when you're thinking about Hesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, when you're thinking about kindness, strength, and the meeting of the two with compassion and beauty, that means being authentic to yourself and also seeing what is needed of you, and then being able to deliver that package, act in that way in accordance with that beauty, manifest that, which by the way, solar plexus area, heart center is going to be Tiferet, right? Compassion, openness, the blending and mending of, and if you see on the Kabbalah chart, Tiferet, everything meets in Tiferet. And when you act in that way, you become the example of what's possible for others, a demonstration of it. You become a teacher of how to blend and mend energy and get into that neutral state in the world by example. But that's not enough, y'all. Once you become a teacher, there's the next step. And that step is foundational. It's in our bodies. And when you start looking at the bottom faculties, the foundational faculties, they're very much so about others, right? I've conquered, I've accomplished. What impact have I made on the world? And to use those faculties to your greatest ability, to have that be our foundation, what the Kabbalah teaches is that we have to become intentional and see how we can teach others to become an example of what we're able to do, what we're accomplishing within our bodies. How can we start also teaching students to do the same thing? And it is one thing, like imagine a 40-year-old father who is a medical doctor and has a deep understanding of biology and chemistry. And let's say he's a surgeon and knows all the intricacies of the human body. And he's trying to teach his 7-year-old son about cuts and boo-boos and what happens and why he started bleeding when he scraped his knee. Now, if the doctor who's 40 years old starts taking all of the medical knowledge that he knows, right? At first it was just an idea, he had to figure it out. How do I go to medical school? Now it's integrated into his body so much that it becomes him. He knows his stuff left and right. And let's just say he starts talking to his 7-year-old son and he is like, well, what happens is this type of cell meets with this type of cell. And when you cut your leg, da, 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 and this is, I don't even know medical talk, so I can't make this stuff up. But you understand what I'm talking about, right? Like it makes a lot of sense that if the father started giving his son a full-on college level biology class right there and then about why he cut his leg, the son would never be able to comprehend or understand what was going on, and it would not be useful to the son. So as much information as the father could share, as much as he wanted to give and apply and be a part of the son's experience, the son would never be able to grasp it. the sun would never be able to hold on to it. And doggo. Come here. Say hi, everybody. Say hello, my friends. Hey, friends. So the sun would never be able to understand it. Kind of like my dog saying, hey, why do you bark? Do you know how annoying it is? He just does not have the capacity to understand it. So actually, he's always just so perfect for teaching lessons. So if I yell at him and I try to tell him how to understand things, it's never going to work. But if I grab him and I hold on to him and I calm him down and I emotionally show him and I help him process and I help him cruise, then naturally he stops barking, which is what I wanted. And so our foundation, according to the Kabbalah, must be not only that we learn to master our emotions and be the alchemist of our emotions and know when to add more kindness and when to see that we're not in alignment with our authentic selves and get more strict with ourselves to be more in alignment, right? Our job is also to teach this process to others. And if we were to be born into a world where that is actually our first lesson, you're worthy, you're whole, you're godly, you're complete. Your foundation is just that. You will accomplish so much in this world, and you already have because you're a godly being and you've come into this world. And because of that, you're going to want to help people. You're going to want to do things that make this world a better place. And it's going to be tough along the way. And there's going to be moments where you might have to alchemize your emotions and learn for yourself. But if that's your foundation, if that's the top aspect, the top part of everything that you're doing, then you will always have beauty and splendor and ease and joy. And so, according to the Kabbalah, if you are able to live a life of giving, of compassion, of teaching, of integrating these qualities in your life, and this is why I start with those foundational steps when we do our coaching. We don't solve any problems, we don't create any solutions until we start working on our foundation, our trust in ourselves. And when we make that flip, this is the secret and the symbol of the Star of David, y'all. Now, I don't know if you knew, but King David was pretty darn cool. And if you look at these faculties, they all end up becoming triangles. And this is the world that we live in currently, according to the Kabbalah. It's a world where we're still integrating information from above, below. And we're learning to make downloads, and we're still learning to set our foundation as that of compassion and kindness and helping and serving and creating for others and being our authentic selves, but for the service of others, not out of judgment or blame, not out of circumstantial evidence, but because we've mastered our emotions and we want to give back and we are able to give back. We have created this pattern where we are learning right through this coaching program and programming our intellectual, or starting from our intellectual faculties all the way down into our roots, our chakras. And the energy has been coming down for a really long time, according to Kabbalah, since Adam and Eve. And it has been coming down. It has been coming down. And now we're getting to that place where the root chakras, that feminine energy of kindness and compassion and care, of knowing our integrated, internal, always present, inherent self-worth, and knowing that with that worth, from that place of splendor, we will be victorious. But our victory is now no longer conquering, but helping and of serving others. And when that is our foundation, what happens is the flip. So if you see these two triangles here, according to the Kabbalah, at a certain point in our lives, in our generation, more and more people will wake up to make this flip. And this is the symbology, the symbol for the Star of David. It's taking your foundation and placing it to your intellectual faculties, where from day one, we recognize and know that we are godly beings and that what we really are here to do is to truly serve, and we have everything within us to do it. And when we do this, remember this part down here, the super conscious, the what happens that we really can't control, the circumstances beyond our control. Well, what the Kabbalah says is that the faculty of Yesod and foundation, the birthing qualities, the womb, is actually very closely related to the birth of the child. Now, this is a bit mystical, so I don't know exactly how this process happens or why it happens this way. But according to the Kabbalah, when we flip our foundation and start living life from being able to work with and master our emotions and not having them overpower us, and use our intellectual faculties and allow us to process that and really transform and integrate energy in our body by understanding our worth and our abilities and our divinity, really our emanation of divinity within ourselves in this world. What happens to that Malchus? Whereas if it was the Yesod that was the very bottom of this triangle here, that would have flipped, it actually becomes the Malchus that flips. And it falls right on top or in line with Das. And Das is our knowing, our knowledge, right? When the idea becomes one with ourselves. And within the new world, the new concept that's born, the new child that's born is also part of ourselves. It is an aspect of ourselves. And so, in a way, once again, it's like that ostrich. Instead of with its head in the sand, it's in the clouds, and it's this continuous evolution because Malchus actually ultimately gives birth, according to the Kabbalah, to the next level of Ketter. And it keeps on going down, and we're always doing this. Every single human being is always doing this work, this emotional work. And the other really cool thing about Malhut, according to the Kabbalah, is when it integrates with Das. If you think about our emotional faculties, right, left, Das is in the middle, right, the throat that I was talking about. Malchus is also becomes really closely related to speech. And one of the ways that we can accelerate this process and accelerate the work which we do emotionally and how we help others and how we serve others is through our speech. Speech is often in Judaism and in the Kabbalah considered to be energetically an action that we take. And so the words that we say, the language that we use, both in our heads, but especially when we say it out loud, when the things that we listen to, the things that we talk about with our friends, those things will always show you where in this process you are. And your speech is also your greatest gift that you have to be able to express to others, right? To teach these concepts to others, to become a teacher, to fully embody this work and make the flip. And our speech is a way that we can transcend before we fully transcend. So, speaking positively about just your emotional state, your emotional being, your emotional self, speaking positively about others, speaking positively about the world from a godly point of view is making that flip already. And when you use your speech in this way, I want you to be aware of how you feel emotionally when you speak. And how does speech affect how you see yourself? And how does speech affect what emotions get triggered in your body? And even though speech is so often related to thoughts, I want you to start sensing and seeing how much speech is actually the gateway. The words become the gateway to the emotions and the correlation within. All right, I got one more little present for y'all in these slides. So my good friend Leora is in this program. I met her because her husband is an awesome, amazing, talented Jewish rapper. And we both hung in the same circles. I used to go to Georgia State University, and I threw a big fun party over there for my graduation. I was very involved with Jewish stuff, and that's how I really met Reuven. I fell in love with his music and requested he come down with another person, and we ended up shooting a music video and having a lot of fun. So he wrote a song about this concept. Are we ready to make this flip? So I'm going to leave you on this note today. And I love y'all. No homework. I'll see you on Friday.
Got a lot of problems in the world, man. You gotta turn this thing around. Turn it over. You know? The sages said before Mashiach we'd be upside down. That's why I'm doing what I can to turn the world around and make it flip. 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 Yeah. Flip. 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 In the last days, the world is steadily getting colder. So we gotta make a change and turn this thing over. Make it flip. 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 Yeah. Flip. 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 Tell me you don't feel what I feel as I'm rocking this. Tell me you don't feel that somebody should be stopping this. I'm dropping this knowledge since this is my hypothesis. Things looking shady, people screaming about apocalypse, and common sense will tell you that something big's about to pop. Ancient prophecies coming true with no flop. You don't stop when you're bumping this off in your car or your headphones, so long as you get the message home. We can make it happen, positive or negative, destroy the sedative, awake the sleep, your prerogative, provocative. I'm trying to be new world that I'm trying to see, not a globalist redemptionist is what they calling me. You could take a microscope and look into the isotope and try to clone what floats your boat and still can't make what God's told. Living without him is looking real odd. Just the other day a Jew told me he didn't believe in God. The same just said before Mashiach we'd be upside down. That's why I'm doing what I can to turn the world around and make it flip. 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 Yeah. Flip. 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 In the last days, the world is steadily getting colder. So we gotta make a change and turn this thing over. Make it flip. 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 Yeah. Flip. 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 Me in the corner, try to label me a goner, then I'm right back on you with the Torah that'll hold you, cause the king is round the corner. No, I'm not a performer, I'm just another soldier in this army trying to show you that time is getting shorter, things ain't how they supposed to be. How could you judge me when all you did was look at me and look at me like you was judging you with jewelry? This is the kind of thing that made me make this song. See, the world we're living in is upside down. Right is wrong and wrong is right, it's all going down, and the left is right and right is left. Will you please look at yourself? We can pick it up and keep it up before there's nothing left. Myself is who I'm talking to, including you. So what's the news? It ain't good, man. We're so confused. 613 plus the 7 equals 620. Guidelines to make change, yeah, we got plenty. The same just said before Mashiach, we be upside down. That's why I'm doing what I can to turn the world around and make it flip. 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 Yeah. Flip. 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 In the last days, the world is steadily getting colder. So we gotta make a change and turn this thing over. Make it flip. 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 Yeah. Flip. 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 same just said before Mashiach, we be upside down. That's why I'm doing what I can to turn the world around and make it flip, flip, flip. Yeah, flip, 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 flip. In the last days, the world is steadily getting colder. So we gotta make a change and turn this thing over, make it flip, flip, flip. Yeah, flip, flip, flip. The same just said before Mashiach, we be upside down. That's why I'm doing what I can to turn the world around and make it flip, flip, flip. Yeah, flip, 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 flip. Show the things ain't how they supposed to be, ain't how they supposed to be, ain't how they supposed to be. Show the things ain't how they supposed to be, ain't how they supposed to be, ain't how they supposed to be.
What? All right, guys, go check out more Protezra on YouTube. I love y'all. I hope you had fun with me today, and I will see you on Friday. Toodaloos!